With me now is Jeremy Bash. He's a former chief of staff at the Pentagon and CIA. He's also former chief counsel of the House Intel Committee. Knows a lot about how these executive branch disputes about executive privilege work, and also about the security clearances. And of course, he's now an MSNBC national security analyst. All right, just like your former boss, I have way too many titles for you. You know, you and Panetta, you guys are fighting for all these titles. Let's start with these memos. The fact that he memorialized it, it says he sent an internal memo. Who would a memo like this likely be sent to? And by the way, I should remind people, you work quite closely with John Kelly.
Yeah, and first of all, we should note that I worked for 2 years alongside General Kelly when he was in the Pentagon, 42 years in the Marine Corps. I think first it's important to note his loyalty is really to the institutions of government, and I can see John writing a memo, a crisp memo saying this was the decision by the President of the United States and it has to be carried out. And he did it for two reasons. One, to make sure there was clarity in the organization. Remember, he was brought in to put some order on the chaos, but also, I think, for posterity. So it would be clear that the President was overriding the recommendation of his security professionals. Now, the memo would probably go internally to the personnel team at the White House that was responsible for granting these clearances. But it could also have gone to the National Security Advisor, and it could have gone outside of the White House to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, maybe to the FBI and the Office of Personnel Management. So if you're on a FOIA team at a news organization or a watchdog NGO and you want to put together a FOIA request for this, I'd probably hit all of those organizations
so
at
ODNI,
the FBI.
The FBI, CIA too, probably at
OPM.
this point. Office of Personnel Management. Let's talk about the issue of executive privilege. If these memos are indeed problematic and things that they don't, the president doesn't want in there, because frankly, he's abiding by the law. Whether you may not like the law, but he has this power. Now, we can have a debate about whether he's abusing that power, but he had the power to do this. If he screams executive privilege on these memos, how strong is their case?
Well, I think there are two bases to withhold the documents from public disclosure. First is executive privilege, and second of all, it may contain classified information, because, of course, if it was in any way evaluating the security analysis of Jared Kushner's background, that could contain sensitive or classified information. The second one is really not a basis to withhold it from Congress, because, of course, Congress reviews classified information. Executive privilege is trickier, because here, Chuck, there have been very few instances in which Congress has gotten their hands on things where the White House digs in on that.
Let's help me out with the various security levels. So Jared Kushner was getting sort of a mid-level security clearance, not the top secret. Explain the difference.
Yeah, sure. Basically, the levels are confidential, secret, top secret, and then the top level is sensitive compartmented information, SCI. Now, what happened was Jared Kushner had an interim top secret clearance for a long time. The president then ordered Kelly, give him a permanent top secret clearance. And that's what he enjoys to this day. But what he never got, because the CIA ultimately adjudicates that very top level, the SCI level, the CIA said, no, we're not going to give it to him. And so even to this day, as he goes around the region, as he goes around the Middle East and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, he does not have access to intelligence, and he does not have access to the same information that others in our government have. I think that's a huge disadvantage.
Why? It's interesting you're saying that the top slot, the president can't order the CIA to give him that clearance as well?
I think he can, but he, according to the reporting, did not. And I think the big mystery here is what was in Jared Kushner's background investigation that caused the professionals at the FBI and elsewhere to say, no, he should not be entitled to classified information in the first instance. And then once the president was going down that road of saying, I want him to have it anyway, why did the CIA dig in so hard? And by the way, credit goes to, I think, Mike Pompeo at the time, who was director of the CIA, for holding firm on that decision. That was probably a very sparky conversation.
The speculation is they're financial. I mean, on these security clearance investigations, it is usually finances the sticking point when somebody runs into a problem.
It depends. I mean, people who have international and global businesses, I think it's expected that they have a lot of foreign financing, that there's a lot of foreign capital in their cap tables. If they're doing real estate deals, there are a lot of foreign investors. That, to me, doesn't strike me as per se the basis for denial. I think it has to do with, first of all, candor, if he's not being truthful on the forms. And second, if there's something from an adversary nation in particular where they have some derogatory information or some reason to have some control over the individual that somehow the government doesn't know about. And I'm speculating, Chuck, because we really don't know, but it's not going to be a garden variety financial entanglement. And by the way, I should say, I think it's a very high bar for the bureaucracy to deny the president's handpicked person, particularly a family member.
Family member.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like
how stunning is this that the president hasn't been able to get the CIA to back down?
Fairly unusual. I mean, if a director of an agency, a president, if there's someone on their team, someone who's very close to them, someone who's advising them. I mean, the CIA and the intelligence community wants the president to have the benefit of the advisors they choose. Right. I mean, they're going to lean forward to try to do this. If they are so worried that that person cannot be trusted with this information, it's going to be something very, very big.
I don't mean to be sort of. There's part of me that thinks, what's it matter? The president can give him any bit of information he wants to give him because he can declassify item by item as well.
Absolutely. Now, look, there has to be.
So if he's a security risk, he's a security risk regardless of whether you give him the security clearance or not, no?
That's right. And there has to be some clarity in the system. You got to know which meetings he can go into. It's very awkward. He's working in the White House. He's working in the West Wing. He can't see the PDB. He can't see routine intelligence.
But every day, could the president say he's cleared today to read the PDB?
I think he probably could, and certainly constitutionally he can. As a practical matter, it would cause so much confusion in the system. I think it would be hard to operate. But what I think is even potentially more concerning, Chuck, as I referenced, is that he's out there negotiating Middle East peace. Yeah. He's going to walk into a meeting with MBS, and he's not going to even be able to hear Gina Haspel's report about what happened with the Saudis.
Well, that's a good point to end it on. Jeremy Bash, former veteran of Pentagon, CIA, various government entities. Good to see you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Sorry. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.